Hello, this week's parshas are a double, Behar and Bechukotai. And in Behar, we're given an accounting of the mitzvot of Shemitah and Yovel, that the seventh year the land should rest, and 7 of 7s. After 49 years, the land should rest, and we're given a whole host of commandments teaching us how to really respect and not abuse the land, and to let it lay fallow for a year, and to trust in God and He'd provide for us, and also how not to abuse people. We're given certain laws to help people from becoming impoverished, and how to help them out of difficult situations, and how to be merciful, and how not to take advantage, and not to charge interest, and to help them with their dignity. And all of these commandments should really go into making us better people. And then in the next parsha, Bechukotai, which is also this week, we have the blessings and the curses. And I don't think it's an accident that these come after these commandments that we're giving. And it says, in Bechukotai tilechu, that if you walk in my ways, and et mitzvotai tishmaru v'asitem otam. So I think that it can be harking back to all of the ones that we're just told, and these mitzvot that teach us how to be good and look out for one another, and how to respect people and property and land, would really lead to a life full of blessing naturally. And then God also would smile upon us and walk amongst us, and put a stamp on those blessings, and have us with shefa in abundance, even more than naturally would occur. And then God says, but if we don't, and then we have this whole scary list of curses that would happen. And I think people are really, really put off about this reward and punishment type thing coming from God, and they frown upon it, and they talk disparagingly. But I really think it makes perfect sense. I mean, God gives us a whole bunch of commandments to help us to be good people, and to have a good life, and a good community, and good relationships, and to live in peace and harmony, not just with people, but with the land and everything that we do. And that these mitzvot really go into making the system work, where everybody looks out for one another, and everybody respects things and people, so that everything's kept in check. And if we don't do that, then things start to go massively awry. And then not only things go by themselves, if we don't keep the mitzvahs, the ones that we're just told about, is to help other people out, and to not abuse the land, so that it will produce in the end. And when we don't keep these, we're hurting ourselves in the end. A lot of curses naturally will come from what we do and how we do, and it would take a miracle for things to go other way. It would take God to intervene, from this heavenly abode, and change things here, because what we're doing is not going to produce the results that would be things we want to see. And people get all upset and bent out of shape. And you know what I do understand, and it's a little bit more tricky, is sometimes you see there are good people that do walk in God's ways, and horrible things happen. And I think that sometimes, it's not, things don't necessarily happen. We can't give reasons for everything, but as a whole, as a people on a whole, we're told that we're arevim zelazah. We're all responsible for one another. And if all together we're following God's ways, and God's walking in our midst, then things, we have that added measure of protection. But when we're not, then anybody is subject to falling into the bad things that come of our actions of God turning the other way. And it has to be that way. And I'll tell you why it has to be that way. Because if you have a small minority of people following in God's ways, and they say, okay, like, I'm good because I'm following God's ways, and so nothing bad's going to happen to me, so I'm good, everything's in check. then, no one's going to work on the whole system. We have to have a measure of fear and a measure of responsibility, because if we feel responsible for the community at large and we don't let bad things happen to the best of all of our ability, we speak out when something is wrong, we try to right the wrongs, and we try to do the best we can, and then we all do that, then we'll look out for another. It's much more likely that we'll have a whole society of people that will call people out and will be good, because it will be something that, we're not just looking out for ourselves. We're not just, saying, okay, God will protect me if I do good. No, we have to do our best for everybody. And that's just the way the system works. So if we don't, as a people, care and respect everything, people, property, land, then the results can be devastating. So I think it's all in all of our best interests to do the best we can, and to to do the best we can to just love one another and care for one another, and try that there should be only justice and tzedek u'mishpat. But in the end, even after the curses, God says no matter what, He won't forsake us, because He made a covenant with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and He wants to be our God, and He wants us to be our people. And no matter how bad we do, we have this assurance in the end that God will always come back to us, and things will, in the end, His promise will be fulfilled. But why should we have to go through all that heartache in the meantime? Why should we rely on a promise? We should just be good. Be good to one another, be good to the land, be good to the property, be good to the system, and not, have to worry, because we will then have God in our midst, and God willing, will have shefa and bracha, and hopefully only blessings. Shabbat shalom.